WRAL capturing these images as we hike to cut off communities near Asheville.
There's homes that are gone, crushed. It's hard.
From feeding people to informing them, see the door-to-door relief efforts.
Every single dollar counts when it comes to helping people affected by Hurricane Helene. Our volunteers are waiting for you to call right now.
Our temperatures are heating up. How hot and humid it will feel town by town before a real taste of fall moves in.
No power, no service, minimal water and food for tens of thousands of people for more than 5 days now. Search and rescue crews have been hard at work since Friday when Helene decimated western North Carolina. Tonight we have new Drone 5 video coming in from our crews who are just now getting some service. Look at that. This is Avery County. WRAL meteorologist Chris Michaels and photojournalist Josie Zimmer traveled over unpaved roads to access this part of the community. Tonight, so many people are still operating with minimal communication and resources. So please scan the QR code on your screen for ways you can help. Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Gerald Owens. New details at the top of the hour. 89 people in North Carolina have died from this storm from 16 different counties. 1,000 Fort Bragg soldiers, Fort Liberty soldiers, are being sent there to help. Emergency crews are facing dire conditions in the most remote areas. We have crews along with them, bringing you firsthand video and stories from rescuers and those being rescued. WRAL's Eric Miller has been in the western part of the state since Sunday, talking with residents in the hardest hit areas. He's traveled to 4 different counties, and tonight he joins us live from Saluda in Polk County. And Eric, you actually had to hike to get to some of these places.
Gerald, that gives you an idea just how cut off many places here around Saluda are. You look behind me here at downtown, things look pretty normal, but in the area around this, it is anything but. There are still people trapped in homes. We have an unknown number of people dead in this community. Those that are alive are still with us. They are doing everything in their power to ensure their neighbors and themselves can keep going through this tragedy. At Thompson's Barbecue Market and Grill, there's no power, but there is propane.
Hamburgers, cheeseburgers.
Jason Crystal and the Claytons frying up hot food and hope one burger at a time.
200 burgers, 150 hot dogs, and probably 60 or 80 barbecue sandwiches.
Just what's going on October 2nd.
Wonderful. Thank you. We needed this.
Volunteer Frank Nelson has turned delivery boy. With cell service and internet still nearly non-existent, he's going door to door with this makeshift newspaper, typed up by town officials daily with the latest places to get food, water, and medicine.
Just trying to keep things moving.
But amid the hope, there's still so much heartbreak.
People need to see how bad it is.
Town Commissioner Paul Marion is overseeing this, the first delivery of government aid. It took 6 days to get here.
But as long as we can keep supplies coming in, we'll keep our people fed.
Marion says the need is still so great because landslides are still happening. People are still trapped in their homes, and others are refusing to leave despite dire conditions. These videos, taken in the Green River Cove community, showing a former paradise now erased.
There's homes that are gone, crushed, or covered in mud, so it's hard.
Back on East Main Street, Jim Carson, the owner of a gallery that flooded during the storm, is on his way to grab a burger.
It's unfortunate that it takes a crisis to get people to act like human beings.
A handful and a helping hand in these trying times. As we just said there, that Green River Cove, one of the hardest hit communities in this area. We tried hiking down there ourselves here earlier today. You see that mud there almost up to my knees from some of the conditions we encountered. We met folks who did make that hike, who have been making that hike, bringing in help to that community one step at a time. We'll bring you that story ahead on our News at 6. In Saluda, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
Well, you look at all that damage and you wonder, where do we start the cleanup and recovery? Thank you, Eric.
Well, we know all the information coming out of the mountains can be overwhelming and locations can be hard to keep track of. So WRAL has this interactive map online showing some of the stories coming out of these communities so far. Just visit WRAL.com/hurricane-Helene and hover your mouse over some of these locations to be able to read some of the stories.
Deborah here at the WRAL Live Center. This is Brian Trader monitoring live pictures right now from the Emergency Operations Center in West Raleigh. President Joe Biden is there along with Governor Roy Cooper. Over on the left side of the screen is Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. And this is the latest stop as President Biden sees the damage firsthand in South Carolina and also in North Carolina. The president started his day in Greenville and then saw everything in the mountains from Marine One this afternoon. We're now going to listen in to what Governor Cooper is saying.
We are working to coordinate this massive, massive surge of help to Western North Carolina. And Mr. President, we know that we have made a lot of asks of you, and we're grateful for your ear and for your actions. This is going to be a long and difficult recovery, but talking with person after person in Western North Carolina, I know that we can come back and that we will come back because the people of Western North Carolina are resilient. Working together, we can get through this. And I'm proud to recognize my friend, the United States, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Thank you, Gov. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have to tell this group that Hurricane Helene has been a storm literally of historic proportions. The damage is still being assessed, and many people are still unaccounted for. So I'm here to say the United States, the nation, has your back. The nation has your back. We're not leaving till you're back on your feet completely. You know, we're in a situation where earlier this morning I met with state and local police in Greenville, South Carolina. Then I took an aerial tour of Western North Carolina to survey the damage, and came here in Raleigh to receive a briefing from all of you. And we've been working nonstop to provide the support that you need and the survivors need. You know, my heart goes out to everyone who has experienced the unthinkable loss. But we're here for you. And I want to thank Republican Governor of South Carolina and the Democratic Governor of North Carolina and all the elected officials who focused on the task at hand. In a moment like this, we put politics aside. At least we should put it all aside, and we have here. There are no Democrats or Republicans, only Americans. And our job is to help as many people as we can, as quickly as we can, and as thoroughly as we can. You know, that's why even before the storm hit, I directed the entire federal government to use every possible resource to help communities across the nation, across the region get ready. We deployed over 1,000 first responders throughout the Southeast. I immediately approved emergency declarations as soon as I received the request from your governors. Today, I approved the request of Governor Cooper for the federal government to cover 100% of all the costs for debris removal, emergency protective measures, for 6 months, all the costs.
And you are listening to President Joe Biden speaking live from the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh as he tours the state and gets a firsthand look at the disaster that is unfolding in the North Carolina mountains. We'll continue to monitor this and have updates for you here on WRAL News.
Yeah, and you do not have to be out in Western North Carolina to help the folks there. You can call in. Call 919-595-5005 to the WRAL Cares Telethon event. We have people letting the phones kind of ring off the hook. If you do not get through right away, that's okay. Keep calling, and if that doesn't work, go to WRAL.com, search help, and you can donate right there. I have here with me meteorologist Kat Campbell. Kat, what's the total we're at right now?
All right, the number keeps going up, so I just checked before I went on air. We are over $250,000, $252,000. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. It is needed.
And it's about 1,300 people donating, so that's $10 there, $500 there, really adding up. And Ken, this is an area that you were forecasting. It's also an area that's very close to your heart that was hit.
Absolutely. I'm from the western half of North Carolina. Every year I go to Black Mountain, one of the areas that was hardest hit by Helene. And something that stands out to me is About 10 years after Hurricane Katrina, Black Mountain got together for the Lake Eden Arts Festival as a community and raised thousands and thousands of dollars to send to New Orleans. They had an entire festival of New Orleans jazz to help those folks even 10 years later. This is our opportunity to do the same for them. They need us right now to help them. They're such a wonderful community all over the North Carolina mountains. There's so much culture there. It's their peak tourism season. They're going to lose a lot of money just from that. So please, folks, consider donating. Any amount counts. We've taken donations from $5 to thousands of dollars today. So please consider.
Number to call 919-595-5005.
And you can be assured that the money will go to exactly where we say that it will go to, and it is a safe way to donate. Thank you, Kat and Keely. Great work.
A homeowner in Sugar Grove captured this mudslide as it happened, as it rushed down the hill. The force of the mud and water covering just about everything in its path, and the person who shot this video stood their ground. Rachel Mosher says she and her family didn't get hurt, but the mudslide damaged her parents' home and destroyed her husband's car. Despite everything, she's staying positive.
We still have food and we've got drinking water. We still have one of our cars, so we have been able to get out, and we've got shelter. I know our community as a whole, though, is hurting.
Now, the family started a GoFundMe account while pointing people to organizations that are dedicated to helping the people of Western North Carolina.
The family of a missing Lee County teacher says her husband is now safely home, but the search continues for Kim Ashby. WRAL first shared the family's pleas for help to find her on Monday. Ashby was separated from her husband Rod when their Avery County home was carried down the Elk River in Helene's floodwaters. He was rescued and is okay. Now a search party is on the ground searching for Ashby. Her family says she and her husband traveled to the vacation property Thursday to remove items before the storm. The next day, they were inside the house when the Elk River carried it away.
Our local hospital systems are using their medical expertise to get help to Western North Carolina.
The first is getting folks evacuated to triage areas to determine what type of health needs they may have.
The effort's underway by Duke, UNC, and Wake Med to help some of the areas hit hardest by Helene. Medical teams from across the Triangle are heading west to answer the call in communities hit hardest by Helene. WRAL's health reporter Grace Haba shares the care staff are helping provide as crews reach patients in need.
The aid of the Triangle's medical trifecta is now being felt across the North Carolina mountains. By air and on the ground, Duke Health, UNC, and Wake Med all sending extra hands west.
There are trees down everywhere. There is debris.
One UNC Rex nurse spoke with us from inside a Morganton hospital where she and a team took supplies and picked up shifts.
For me as a nurse leader, it can help to operationalize things, but also to help coordinate relief from some of the team out here that's been working for days on end so that they have the opportunity to go home to their families and kind of assess their local community for what they need to rebuild.
About an hour south in Shelby, 25 Duke Health team members set up a field hospital triage area.
We've also been involved in daily transfer center calls, so understanding which patients may need to be transferred to us. We also had 50 patients from the region scheduled to come here to have procedures this week.
The hospital system shared one man drove 14 hours to the Triangle for treatment.
We also have 30 or so patients that need to go back to the region once they're done with their hospitalization.
Wake Med shared its team members are deployed across several relief efforts throughout the mountains, including the Capital Regional Advisory Committee, mobile critical care units, and shelters. Grace Haba, WRAL News.
And tomorrow, Wake Med is hosting a drive at all three of its hospitals here in the Triangle from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Here's a look at the items the community is asking you to donate. Some of the most needed things include bottled water, hygiene products, diapers, and pet food.
Weaverville, North Carolina's mayor says communication is still one of their biggest issues. Patrick Fitzsimmons gave an update from outside a grocery store, the only Wi-Fi spot in town.
Things are slowly improving. For example, the interstates now, at least in 3 directions, are open, so relief supplies can get in, and people who have the opportunity to self-evacuate can get out. Yesterday, we were very pleased that we were able to tap into the water supply of the town next to us, which wasn't nearly as bad damaged, and so we have water coming out of faucets this morning. This is a huge way to reduce anxiety in our community. If you have water, you feel a lot safer.
Now, the mayor said that they could be without power for an undetermined amount of time, and the infrastructure in some neighborhoods is destroyed. The entire power grid has to be rebuilt.
Boy, we are still just learning just a tip of all of the damage and destruction and just the devastation those folks are seeing. And Mike, I know at least we still have a little bit of rain around here, but hopefully dry in the mountains.
Yeah, it is dry in the mountains. And as Kat was mentioning during our 4 o'clock broadcast, the trend is for a drier pattern out west and here across our part of the state as well. And a cooler one, too. I talked about it last night. I'll talk more about it in a moment. The live dual Doppler 5000 radar, excuse me, still showing a little bit of light rain cruising through Nash County, southern parts of Franklin County, eastern Wake County, northern Johnston County. These little showers will continue to move to the south, and they've been up toward the Virginia line around lunchtime and continue to descend to the south. And it's about a 30% chance of rain through 7, 20%, 8, 9, and 10. And then basically dry overnight. One of our high resolution models shows a little bit of rain in the area by daybreak, so we'll watch to see if that'll actually pan out. Warm afternoon and a humid one too. 82 at RDU, 82 in Fayetteville. We have 77 right now at the airport with the dew point at 67, and the sun is starting to come out a little bit more. I looked at the view about a half hour ago and it was pretty much overcast, looking much better. 76 at Rocky Mountain, Goldsboro, 78 Fayetteville, 80 right now in Southern Pines. Well, October heat will carry on. Our normal high now is about 78, although it's not showing up in the box. 82 for Thursday, 83 Friday. I think the warmest over the next 5 days will come Saturday. Sunday and Monday will still be warm. A cold front moves by on Monday, and then the temperatures should descend. And I wanted to show you how the dew points, the measure of the moisture in the atmosphere, descend as well with the passage of our front. Excuse me. So as we go into the weekend, it'll still be very humid, but there's our cold front, a lot of dry air behind it. I showed you this front last night. By Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, all that green is still a lot of humid air. Behind it, the air is really drying out with dew points falling in the 30s and the 40s. Here comes our front. So Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock, it's on our doorstep. It passes by, and look at all the dry air moving in. And I really believe this is going to be a bona fide taste of fall, not a false fall that a lot of folks talk about. And this one's going to last a while. There's Tuesday afternoon at 5 o'clock, the air begins to dry out. By the time we get to Thursday morning, dew points fall into the upper 30s. This is really crisp fall air that we're going to feel, and we'll stop this at Friday. And for high school football games on Friday evening, it should feel pretty good too, with dew points in the 40s, and the dry air will stick around for quite some time. So the folks out west will dry out, and hopefully there'll be no more landslides and mudslides. That will likely continue to be the case if we're seeing more rain. And then Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, 73 the high both days. Morning low Tuesday is 56, the morning low Wednesday 50. I think by next Thursday morning, the low could be in the upper 40s. Here's your 7-day forecast, 20% chance for a shower tomorrow, and also on Saturday, highs stay in the 80s, but we transition into fall Tuesday and Wednesday, highs in the 70s, perhaps some 40s for lows as well.
False or real, Mike? I'll take fall any way I can get it.
Yeah,
thanks.
Exactly.
Homes, buildings, businesses, and historic landmarks all wiped away in Hurricane Helene's devastation. Ahead at 6, we share the story of 2 beloved bridges now lost at Lake Lure. Remember, phone lines are open right now for those of you looking for ways to help the impacted communities in Western North Carolina. WRAL Cares Phone Bank is open now through 7:30 tonight. You can donate to the Red Cross or the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund. Just dial 919-595-5005. Join all those other folks who are on the phone right now. A WRAL employee will take your call and your donation. Thank you.
A pastor disrupted a Wake County School Board meeting, calling out district leaders and refusing to leave. This comes after a high school student told the board that she was uncomfortable reading and discussing a passage in class that she described as incestual. WRAL's Destiny Patterson explains.
Say her name. Justice for Lorena Benson. I can't, sir.
At this point,
sir,
I must instruct you to leave.
Sir.
Vocal about his conservative views, Pastor John Amanchukwu challenges school boards across the country.
You are breaking the law.
He refused to leave the podium after his 3 minutes for public comment were up during the Wake County School Board meeting.
You should be removed.
The school board chairman called it a publicity stunt. It all started with this short story. An Athens high school student told school board members a couple weeks ago she felt uncomfortable by a passage that made reference to sex and incest. She left the school a week later.
This
Graphic, ancestral, sexual language should not be taught in any class, much less an honors English class.
Lorena Benson's father, Bruce Benson, agrees.
There's thousands and thousands of great books that could be taught to kids. Why does the school system and the teachers have to go out of their way to teach content that is so clearly over the line?
The 15-year-old says her family moved to North Carolina from the Dominican Republic a few months ago.
I am deeply bothered and deeply disappointed.
District officials declined an on-camera interview, citing privacy laws for students and personnel. However, they say they're evaluating the appropriateness of the assignment. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Wake County.
Now on Wall Street, stocks closed up across the board. The Dow finished the day up 39 points. The S&P saw very little movement, closing up less than a point, and the Nasdaq up 14. Brian?
Gerald, we're watching traffic over on the west side of Raleigh from the WRAL Live Center. Of course, President Biden is over at the Emergency Operations Center right now receiving a briefing, and there are closures on some of the roads in that area. We're seeing some very heavy traffic on Wade Avenue. I think that's likely from where they closed it briefly a little while ago as the motorcade passed through that area. As the motorcade leaves the Emergency Operations Center and heads back to RDU for that flight back to Washington, there will be more closures there on I-40 very likely as we head deeper into the evening commute. It's something we'll be watching. Of course, our coverage of the aftermath of Helene continues. Coming up, we're going to take you to Black Mountain for a look at efforts to recover there. That's coming up next at 5:30 on WRAL News.